I started to invest in real estate since I'm 25 years old. So that's when I bought my first house.
Our culture, upbringing, and personality shapes our financial habits. Today, I'm here with my friend Cindy to talk about how her own personal financial habits were shaped, her experiences throughout life, and what it means when it comes to her investment philosophy. Welcome back to Investing with Daren. Click subscribe to stay updated to more interviews like this. Cindy, tell us more about yourself.
Hi everyone. It's really good to be here with Daren and joining the show. So my name is Cindy. I was born and raised in Vietnam. I spent my first 18 years in Vietnam. And then after that, I moved to Japan for 4 years. And then now it's in Singapore for about 6 years. So I think my personality is sharpened a lot by the Asian culture. And it was really, really good to be in Singapore. I feel like I'm picking up a lot of Singaporean habits now. But yeah, very, very interesting to have this opportunity to share with all of you on some of the financial tips and tricks and secrets from my side.
But first, tell us a fun fact about yourself. We want to get to know the real Cindy.
So the real Cindy, this is a stupid fun fact, but you see me in black and white because I'm so lazy to think about what I'm gonna wear, and black and white just blend in very easily with each other. So most of my fashion or clothes, it will blend within black and white, and that really saved me a lot of time.
It's a classic look. So one day you see Cindy in a different color, you know something's happening that day.
Definitely, it's gonna be like payday or something like that.
Coming soon, 10 more days from today's filming. So, Cindy, you grew up in Vietnam. Tell us a little bit more about your upbringing and how did family shaped your introduction to finances and your mindset to it?
Actually, I think I've learned a lot from my parents and my family's financial habit. So I started to know about money from very, very early age. I think I remember maybe the first time I ever touched like money is when my mom was telling me that, okay, can you come to the market and buy me something? And at that time I was 5 years old. So I started to know that, okay, you can exchange money for, to get something. And there's like different values and stuff like that. So I feel like, oh my God, it's a lot of, it's kind of like magic, right? You have like a note, a paper, and then you can exchange for anything you want. So from 5, I start thinking about how can we, like why it's so powerful, money at some point. And what will be the right, like adjusting amount of exchange with the money and other values in life, other things you get in life. So I know the value of money since very early stage, but also I learned it hard way when I was going through my university time in Japan. I actually trying to go with the minimum support from my parents. So I was like really doing a lot of part-time job to cover for myself so that I don't have to ask parents for money. I trying to like get scholarship and everything. So that is really sharpening up a lot of my habit as well, because I know money it's not unlimited resources. You work hard to earn it, and you really you really need to go you spending it in the right way so that it's worth all of the efforts and time you put in. Yeah, I think that's why for me I try to looking at money as a tools for us to get a better life, but also it's definitely not purpose in life. It's a tools for us to be like more convenient, feeling more confident, having the secure kind of lifestyle if you have anything. So my relationship with money is very interesting. I think there's some point I feel like it's really important. There's some point I feel like it is important, but like optional because there's other things are more important. So I think it's keep changing, and I'm sure in the next several years still changing.
Agree. Cindy mentioned that money is not the only thing in life. Money is like health. The more, the better, but that is not the reason why we live. Cindy, when you were shaping your initial outlook on finances, growing up in Vietnam with your family, like how okay was it to talk about money? Like, do you only talk about money with your own parents, or is it okay to talk about it with friends and other people also?
I would say it's quite, it's really depends on how close the relationship is, right? So with my parents, I'm completely transparent. I actually like ask them to helping me investing. They also share like whatever they are doing with their money. And so for in our family, we're very open about that. But it's also very separate in a way that my parents taught me to owning my like having my own responsibility with whatever whenever I reach 18 years old and I start to own my life. So if I stay in their house, whenever I'm being back or there's a time I'm being there for several months, I will be also like actively just tell them, oh, can I pay for bills? Can I pay for electricity, water? Not because they are asking me to do so, but I feel I have responsibility to do so. Or like buying stuff so that they feel comfortable. And my mom is like really, really giving me of things like, okay, you don't expect anything from me. It's not like I think it's kind of Asian culture, but like trying to be by yourself as good as you can.
Yeah.
And you come like I'm sure I'm sure I can come to them if I need help, but I try not to because I feel like I'm of course like grown up, so I have my responsibility for myself. And they taught me from very early stage, and even like every month how much money, like when I was in high school or even like elementary school, I have a fixed budget every week. So I always spend, and if I want to save to buy something, I have to save from there.
Wow.
So that's why I kind of like really responsible for whatever I own.
Yeah.
And then I have to think hard before I spend. Yeah, so I think it's a good habit. And even with my siblings now, we are training them in that way. So once you're 18 years old, you're responsible. If you want to go for, let's say, master degree, we probably want you to, like having scholarship or having anything to cover your fee. If you cannot, the parents gonna loan you some money. But once you get into the you get into the workforce, you can start working. You might think of how can I pay you back.
Right.
It's not like you have to pay back 100%, but it's like you have the thinking and the responsibility to pay back.
It sounds like a big theme here is financial independence, accountability, ownership for what you do. And this experience that you had with your family growing up in Vietnam, is this common and shared with many families? And what are some common values about money growing up in Vietnam that you see? Not just with your own family, but among most of the people you meet.
I think it's changing a lot in the last maybe like 20 years, because I think in the previous generation, people are very dependent on the family. And they are very close, because I think, in Vietnam, we are coming from the war like about 40 years ago, and then it's changing to economy like growth until now. So during the war, people really need to, kind of gathering together, working together, staying together, so that a lot of support across the family. But when the country moving to more independent growth in terms of economy, it starts shaping up the habits of responsibility, independence. So that's when I feel like my parents start picking it up and actually putting it into my education. And also I saw a lot of my friends also have the same kind of education, especially people who are who has to, let's say, like leaving the house to, let's say, from the hometown to go to the cities, or from the city going abroad, then you are on your own, right? So the parents really want them to be independent since younger place. And I think even now, if I'm looking at my younger siblings, I think they even have like a lot of good, better habits and education than I had before. So very, very good on, like how to do with money and financial planning.
Sounds like your parents would be proud, at least in the financial habits
Hopefully.
point. For most of us, like it is clearly very important to be financial literate to have education. So we're a lot more open talking about normal education, like doing a master's, an MBA. Nowadays, we're a lot more open talking about mental health as well. And education in so many ways, like fitness, the way we eat, our nutrition. Yet when it comes to financial education, it is very sensitive for many people.
It
It's
is.
like after politics and religion, it feels to me like financial education is
Definitely.
something we may stay away
you
of unless we
won't
really know
talk
someone.
about finance to your dating girlfriend
Huh.
like on the first date, right?
Yeah.
You need to build up the relationship.
Yeah.
You need to get to know each other before you can talk about like, oh, how much I earn. How
Yeah.
much it's not like you're going to speed dating and like how much you earn, how much like what job you're
Yes.
doing, how many credit cards you have, right? So I'm sure there's a sensitivity in that, so that we and it's normal, it's understandable that we need some time to get the relationship until the level that you can talk about money.
That's true. Then, you mentioned earlier that when you're in university, actually, even before this, you told me before that you studied university overseas. Tell us a bit more about the experience, and you was outside of Vietnam. What happened to your mindsets as you were exposed to people from all over the world?
Firstly, you don't have anyone cook for you.
Yeah.
So you obviously have to manage time to do everything, right? And so I was spending my time in Japan. And actually, I learned a lot from Japanese on how they being very independent and be responsible for money. First of all, like Japanese, they really proud of whatever job you do. It doesn't matter if you're doing labor job, you're doing like cashier, you're doing like even like washing the dishes or things like that. Every jobs are essential for life, and people respect whoever is working. So I actually tried a lot of different part-time jobs during my Japan time, and
Share
And-
some examples.
yes, I do. So if you go to Japan, you see all of the convenience store, right? If you were there like about 10 years ago, you might see me become cashier in one of the Lawson store. And I was working there as a cashier, and I was like doing shift time. It can be like 6 hours standing and then really like introduce. But if you train by Japanese, you're really doing your job by heart. So you're trying to get the excellent level of service, and you're so proud of that. And I also do like teaching assistant. I also do waitress, like serving in the restaurant. I do what else I did during that time. I did some of the like hotel services, kind of like helping to work at the hotel, the lobby, and then some of the room cleaning as well. So a lot of that actually make me feel like earning the money is hard,
Yes.
and using the money is even more important.
Right.
So and when you do the job and you proud about what you are doing, because every job you add value, no matter like how little it is, you add value to someone who's receiving your service or receiving your products, right? So the Japanese people really proud of that. And then it's so we call it arubaito, which is part-time job.
Arubaito.
Everybody can go for arubaito. And if I look across all of my friends in university, I think 99% of them doing one or two arubaito at one time.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and people proud of that. People really respect whoever is working. Even the older people who are like 60 years old, 65 years old, they go into retirement, but they also want to contribute something to life. They can also go part-time job.
Got it.
Yeah.
The value of this being in especially a part-time role, a lot of it would be retail related. It's hard work, it's laborious work. Definitely you feel a more tangible sense of earning that money versus being in an office job.
Actually, like it people think that the jobs that, let's say, doing cashier, you just repeat everything you do every day, right? But it is true in one part, but also you can always learn to do it better. And for Japanese, they're trying to make it as perfect as possible. So it's like the speed you counting the money, the speed you responding to clients, the way you speak. So if you like me doing the convenience store cashier, in the morning we actually have a training where you stand in front of the store and trying to welcome everyone in a manner and in a tone that make people feel the most welcoming. So it's like you irashaimase for like very, very loud and clear, and it's a way to train your sound so that whenever they come into the store, they also feel like, oh my god, like they really welcoming me to the store and really make me feel warm so that I can shopping in here. So very detailed, but I think it teach me a lot when I go into the workforce, like the serious official workforce later, that every details you can always make it better.
What truly stood out is the attention for detail, and for those of us who've been tourists or working in Japan, I think many of us can attest to that. If you had experience, share in the comments as well. What did you learn in your time in Japan? After university, eventually you found your way to Singapore.
Yeah, I spent some time in Vietnam before I moved to Singapore. So it is the first time I was in Singapore is when I was 12 years old. So it's long way. There wasn't Marina Bay Sands, I think. So, so and then after that, like after dozen of years, I came back to Singapore. I actually accept the job without, like checking in Singapore, like what's changed and everything. So I was quite amazed on how much it has changed through the decades. And I was like, oh my god, it sounds like Singapore, it's so established comparing to other Southeast Asia. Because I actually really like traveling, and I've been traveling to many of the Southeast Asia and Asian countries. But Singapore, you feel like it's a really nice culture, a little bit of mixture between the West and the East, and you feel like you still feel the culture. Sometimes I even feel my Asian Vietnamese culture in Singapore, but also you establish to the Westerner, you see a lot of culture in the workplace and in life as well. So it's really nice for me to be here.
When you're in a new environment, speaking a different language with a different type of people, a lot more international in Singapore as well, a lot more diverse.
For that language,
Yeah.
I have to admit that my first month in Singapore, whenever I go into like hawker center or talking to real Singaporean, I actually had hard time to understand what they're talking about. I'm really trying to learn Singlish, not to speak but to understand faster and easier. And now I actually start like talking okay lah, can, like all of that. I start using it in my daily without even notice. And then one day my cousin come in and how can you speak some of the Singlish? Because she also doesn't understand English. I was like, oh, I didn't know. I adopt it like so natural that I just pick it out, So language, I think I have to admit, I take some time to understand.
It's not easy, and also imagine when you went to university in Japan, learning Japanese was also something that took some time.
It took some time, definitely. And also the Japanese English is also sometimes a little bit different. So I think it's good because when you're in an environment like in Singapore, very international, right? You're exposed to many nationality friends. You actually learn a lot, and then by the time you naturally feel like, oh my god, I can actually understand everything. You don't need the perfect English in order to understand everyone. You learn from the people, and you learn from the culture, and you respect the way they speak whatever language.
Yes, and as to say, 80% of communication is still non-verbal.
Exactly.
Eye contact, body gestures, facial expressions. What was your biggest culture shock or surprise coming to Singapore?
I need to think about that. I'm not sure if there's any big shock, because yeah, actually I feel I blend in quite okay lah. I
You hear that?
maybe
Quite okay lah.
maybe it's the safety needs and the security,
Yeah.
because so I was like you chop the table in Singapore, right? And mostly by tissue and a lot of other a lot of other things. But so I for the first time sometimes I actually also put my phone there. I know it's not good, but a lot of my friends say, oh, you should not chop by your phone or chop by like your credit card or something, or like other cards, security cards. But 100% of the time I take risks,
Yeah.
it's always be there and be secure. When I first go into Singapore, and I think the first month I have to take some like health checkup. I actually forgot my phone on the bathroom
Yeah.
inside the hospital. And then I went back to the office. I spent like several hours in the office. And then I realized, oh my God, where's my phone? And then I was like, I don't remember. But and okay, maybe the last time I saw it is in the hospital. And then I start slowly remember, okay, I forgot it in the bathroom of the hospital, which, like public access. And I so freaked out. And that's my first month in Singapore. Without the phone, I would be very troublesome. So I tried to call the hospital. But obviously it's like the line was very busy, and I came there after 3-4 hours. The phone was gone. I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God, what should I do with my life? Like, I'm just moving here. I have to buy a new phone, like all of the information and stuff. And I go into the counter. I was like, hi, can you help me? I think I left my phone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then he was like, what color is your phone?
Wow.
And then she actually pulled out my phone, and then if you can tell me the password, right, I can
Yeah.
return it to you, because it's proof that it's your phone. And then I got my phone just like that. I don't think it's happened like, in many countries in the world that way, because it might be gone even in Vietnam, I think it might be gone.
I see.
Yeah, because I also lost my phone in Vietnam before. So the safety needs, it's really, really awesome.
And what changed about your financial habits or mindsets being in Singapore?
I think it's not about in Singapore, but as I grown up, I start feeling that I invested my money on more quality things, quality stuff. Before I really love things that look beautiful, things that look like you feel like you want to invest in things like clothes, like the most trendy, the new season. But now I feel like I want to invest in things that can last longer and comfortable for me, for example. So you invest in, let's say, a really good pillow.
Yeah.
You invest in good quality of materials. You invest in money for yoga class, money for like training or traveling, so that you expose to more experience. So I think like starting maybe like getting a bit older, we start investing more on the quality and the how long the stuff can last with you.
See.
So even like kitchenware or like cutlery, I really research hard before I buy, because I want it to become a part of my life and it can last longer, so that you just start having attachment with the things you buy, which is I think good, and you become more selective. It's not like I have to buy like 10 new dresses. I can buy 1 or 2, but it's really good and I can use it in different occasions, and it lasts longer. So I actually like stepping into that mindset.
So it sounds like it's more really the different stages in life, the maturity that brings a bigger change in financial habits. Location plays a part, but I think life experiences
But
matter.
also in Singapore, right, there's so many varieties and you have a lot of options, and you also exposed to you can actually very easily ordering something from outside as well, right? So I think it's also the opportunity in Singapore to expose to a lot of other options.
True.
And then you learn about what is the most suitable for you.
As we progress in life, especially as most people reach their 30s, they does start thinking, okay, I need to now take probably longer term financial planning or retirement planning a bit more seriously, or at least I need to take some initial actions. And for many people, that usually meant going into stocks or equity. It's pretty easy nowadays to download an app, put in $100 and start investing, not just for today, but really for the future, for 20, 30 years down the road. What was your journey like? Because it's not conventional.
Yeah, so as I share, right, I exposed to money since very early stage.
Yeah.
So, but my mindset might be a bit different than a lot of other young people. So the biggest investment that I'm doing right now is real estate. And besides that, I also I have stock. I invest in stock and also like cryptocurrency as well. But real estate is still something I'm interested in, and I actually spending my time to learn about that and really try to understand how can I make the most out of that segment. So, and most of the time I be researching about real estate in Vietnam. It is quite interesting that investing in real estate is actually more of the habit of a bit older generation than young people right now. But because of, if you're looking at, for me, I'm looking at like what is my interest?
Yeah.
How can I, comfortably research about something? So I did some time with stock, I did some time with cryptocurrency. I'm still keeping some of my investment in there. But I found my interest in real estate. And in the last several years, actually, the real estate in Vietnam is booming really, really big. You can actually like 2x, 3x if you invest into the right thing. And then I think it's very different than Singapore, where you have very kind of quite high tax when you're buying a property. You also have restriction that you cannot sell the property within like several years.
Yes.
So in Vietnam, it's very easy for you to exchange the property, and also it's very easy for you to like research and also expose to different type. You can also buy like apartment or landed house, or even like bungalow if you feel like it's the right investment. For me, I started to invest in real estate since I'm 25 years old. So that's when I bought my first house. And then I learned on the way that firstly, the reason why I'm investing is I also seeing that a very huge number of people who also interested in that. So there's always demand, and
Yes.
I feel like there's limited resource in terms of real estate. So it can go down at some point, but in the bigger picture, it eventually will go up. And also, if you're looking at the population and the growth of the population, it's actually growing up really, really, really fast at the moment. And then people have needs, of course, in exposing to bigger place, wanting more. So that's why, especially during COVID time. So that's why I think it's definitely will be good investment.
It's not a path that many people explore, real estate investment, compared to equities. And one big reason is a perception that I need a lot of capital to start investing in real estate. Do I have 200,000, 300,000? Is that true? Is that a myth, or what's your take? How did you start? Because the audience was wondering, wow, Cindy started at 25 years old. What am I doing wrong here?
No, it's not like I'm rich or anything, but I just so first of all, you can research about things that is the most the most suitable for your budget, and there's also a lot of different support resources like from loaning from the bank, or also because there's a lot of new projects coming in, right? You don't have to pay 100% of the money. You can start it with maybe like 5%, 10%, 20%, and then they having different payment terms through 5 years or 10 years. So it really depends on how much you can be flexible in your financial planning. And then and if you feel like you can start with lower, you can also go into like suburban or like a bit further area where the real estate price is still very reasonable, and there's still a lot of like, of course you have to spend time in order to research, right? And knowing like what area gonna be the next like suburban development area, or if there's like new school coming, new hospital coming, or is there any big projects coming in, then definitely it's a good time for you to research in there. And so there's a lot of information like on the website, online, or you can also talk to a lot of people. So I think investing, just like stock, right? You also have to research a lot, so that your investment will be worth it.
And on top of buying a property, usually many people who buy would then rent it out to tenants, and they feel that, the challenge of dealing with tenants, of collecting rental, it seems like there is some work involved. What's your experience?
Yes, there's some work involved. I think actually I'm lucky because actually dealing with my mom, that mom, can you have me on handling, because she's in Vietnam. But honestly I think I'm like most of the tenants in my place, they will be at least spending for like 2 years or more, and they even like very responsible. And we also sharing during, let's say during COVID, we're like, can you I can give you maybe like 20%, 30% discount of the rent, just because it's it's the difficult time for everyone. So I think it's more, everything for me is like relationship, right? If you want them to treat you and taking care of your house, you also want to treat them better.
Agree.
So yeah, it's definitely two ways transaction. And so honestly, I don't have any bad experience with renting out or buying house. Honestly, I trust the support of my parents a lot. Even the latest house I bought, I was in Singapore and I didn't go back. So I actually asked my dad, like, Dad, can you help me to check out the place? And then like he came there, he like trying to take a video, taking picture, and then helping me to solve all the documents. So the latest place I haven't even visited it.
Wow.
but because everything is accessible now, I can actually go into Google Maps. I treat like 3D. I know like what's the neighbors. I should go into the forum to hear people talking about that place. I check in with some friends who like living nearby for a long time. So it's so convenient that you have access to almost all the information. Yeah. So it is quite interesting, and I feel it's a big risk for me when I took it, and even when I decided, okay, I take that place, I still feel like, oh my god, I'm not very sure. But after several months, until now, I can say it's a good investment.
And when you buy real estate, at least you eventually get to physically see it, touch it one day. Maybe not now, but when you go back to Vietnam, when someone buys cryptocurrency or stocks, usually you can't see, touch the asset. You can read about the stock. Cryptocurrency, there's probably less to read about. So it's a different investment pool. Thank you for giving voice to another way of investing, another asset class as well, so that people can learn from different approaches. A lot of our successes also was built on the foundation of our learnings from failures. Many of us have failed a lot, and both of us are no exceptions. Can you share with the audience what was some of your biggest failures and what you learned from it?
For sure. I don't think there's anyone, like going through life without failure. There might be, but they be like super, super lucky. For me, I think in terms of investment, right, I definitely have good investment and bad investment as well. I think one of the things, for example, there's a time when I started with cryptocurrency, and I researched about that, but I think I obviously didn't know as much as I could. So I I buy and sell at very bad timing, and I kind of like losing at that time like almost half of the money I invested in.
Wow.
But and then of course I try to learn and trying to asking me like why, like why, and losing money, it's, I don't say it's normal, but if you can still bear it, and at some point you can also diversify into something else, or you're trying to bounce back from there. So for a little bit of time, I was like quite shocked, and I was like, oh my god, like maybe I invested in something that I didn't know. But and then I learned, and I also like trying to read more on how people feel and what is the psychology behind, like losing money and investing wrongly in something. And I try to bounce back from there. So I try to cut out the loss and finding something more sustainable for me to invest in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, failure. I'm totally thinks that if you can bear a risk in terms of value, it's okay to fail at some point. But if you're saying that you lose like 100% of on your investment, then it's a big thing. But if you, let's say you trying and diversify it, and you like one part of that is losing, it's fine. But make sure you know why it's happening and how can you bounce back from there.
Sounds like two takeaways here. One, failure will be part of the journey. We're not going to be successful all the time. And second, also I'm hearing, be really clear about what we're investing in. Know the product well.
Yeah, trying to know or learn from experts, or like watching Daren's like sharing about Tesla. It's a part of it. But yeah, definitely don't just hearing from one or two people when make the decision on investing. Definitely spend time to try, because it's your hard-earned money, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so try it.
And we've seen failure stories where it's not just losing your own money, but losing money that you borrowed to invest. Some people would borrow on margin, they would borrow 2 or 3 times the amount of capital that they have. And when they lose that money, that is devastating.
Yeah, so minimize the risk as much
Yeah.
as you can bear,
Yeah.
because otherwise when you try to, let's say you invested in one coins,
Yeah.
out of 10, then you can still bear that 10%, right? But if you invested in only 2 coins and one of that is actually losing or like almost going to zero, then you almost losing half. And it's like trying to diversify the portfolio as much.
And even on that, like you can see, Cindy and I have different ends of the spectrum. For Cindy, diversification helps as a protection. But most of the asset classes is in real estate. For me, I'm very concentrated. I'm 80% Tesla, 15% Apple, 5% the rest. So to some people, that's a very different approach. The way I try to give confidence in my concentration is to truly understand the product that I invested in. I read about Tesla
I think, yeah, that's the
practically
common,
every
right?
single day. I've been to the factory last week. So, but not everyone can do that. So there are multiple paths to growing your wealth. And it can come from diversification, concentration. Pick something that works for you. Actually, on this,
And pick something you're interested in, so that you don't feel pain when you have to spend all the time to research, right? You feel
Yeah.
it's interesting and you want to know more
Yeah.
and more and more.
it shouldn't feel like work.
Yeah, you shouldn't
Because
feel
we
like-
already worked long enough. How do you know that you were interested in real estate?
So I actually spending some time like looking out for, like interior design
Yeah.
tips. And then so when I trying to pick out some furniture, and I start like visualize how it looks
Yeah.
in the house, and I start to read more and more on like how is the like layout, like what is the good side, like all of the things about a house. And then I was like, oh, it is very interesting. I might want to know more. And then I buy more books, and I trying to talking to and reading more design forums. And then at that point I was like, okay, if I'm so interested in design, I start to look out for all of the reviews on beautiful places, and like what is a good good neighbors, what is the good location, and then what people considering within a real estate. And then I start feeling, oh my god, it's like even more interesting. And I start looking even bigger picture on how is the real estate, like how it looks in the last several years. I even like trying to looking comparing between like Singapore, Vietnam, and some other countries, and I start seeing the trends. And at that point, I'm like, oh my god, this is so interesting. And I think you need some love into whatever you do. And for me, it started from like some of the designing thing, but after that, it's going back to like design is you kind of know like what kind of the shape of the house or the layout or everything that might be the most common and people like it, or like what people cares about when they're buying a house. Is that the front yard, or is that the neighbors, or is that the sunshine, the like whatever. So there's a lot of different indicators in investing and buying a real estate. And for me, it's just natural. I just like, oh my god, like how is it look like? Is this how it looks? So, like if it's me, I would be really loving this house. But it's also quite trying to make it less personal. The more I learn, I feel because there's a like different lifestyle as well. And for real estate investment, you want to invest in something the most common, because that's like the most people will also having the similarity flavor with your real estate flavor. So balancing out, it's also something I learned.
I love that message. Like for Cindy, it was her interest in interior design that initially got her into thinking about real estate in the big picture and then investing in it. For me personally, I was a fan of Tesla, SpaceX, Elon Musk before I even thought about investing in those companies. And so we could be thinking about those topics, real estate for Cindy, Tesla, SpaceX for me, even if not investing in it, doesn't feel like a job. The watch out is to not fall in love so much with those things that we become blindsided to the flaws. Yeah, that we still have an objective point of view to things. Love that story, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's one last tip you'd give for young people who are starting their investment journey, still forming the financial habits, and they're trying to find their way? Can you share with them how you did it and advice for them, please?
So I think I be very transparent. My biggest secret is saving. So I think I started saving even when I was in university and doing my part-time jobs. At that time, I was saving in order to travel, but saving and saving and saving, because I think you need some original investment in order to make its growth and multiply it. So right now, I'm actually very very conscious on how much I spend every month and how much I can save in order to invest more. And so you can actually planning it in, there's different methods that you can go online, but most of the time you can do like 50 on spending and then saving on the other half. Or it's really depend on your lifestyle, but making sure that you save at least about 10% of whatever you earn, because I think the only way to feel secure about finance is you at least have some security for your retirement, or even for any emergency in life, right? And I think if you save, making sure that you also do investment, because inflation and everything gonna make your money devalue a lot. So I was sharing with some of my Singaporean friends, but in Singapore, right, if you deposit your money in the bank, how much of the interest rate you have yearly?
0 point something percent. It's less than 1% basically.
Okay. So what I learned in Vietnam is normally if you deposit in the bank, now the interest rate is a lot lower, but it's at least about 5% to 6% per year. So if you're looking at the interest rate, right, it's the inflation rate, roughly about 3%, let's say, then you're still earning something. Small amount. But now, so that's the most safety ways. But now if you're looking at instead of making 3%, you're trying to make like 10% or 15% or even higher out of that, then you probably need to diversify your portfolio in different areas. And definitely stock or coins, or for me real estate is somewhere, and trying to be very specific on calculate how much you want and how can you get there. Of course you don't, it's not possible if you say, oh, I need to 2x every year, because it's very unrealistic. Of course it can happen to a lot of people, but if you can plan it out and diversify it, and then choose one or two areas is your expertise, so that you invest your time on that. So saving and use that money to be very strategic in terms of how you can grow it as fast as possible, and also diversify the risk, right? So for me, I think definitely saving is my key thing. So don't spend all the money on new iPhone or anything. It's good if you need it, you save money to buy it, but don't just buying new things without thinking.
But the camera is so good and has more battery life.
This is the Apple fan. Like all the time, whenever the product launches, you're like, oh my god, it's coming. Oh my god, like Apple is launching something. Okay, if of course like Daren can afford it, but I'm sure
It's an indulgence. A lot of this is nice to have.
But if it's helping you to increase your productivity, right? And if you feel like it's increasing your productivity, have you to do your job better, maybe making your life easier, and also you might earn more because of that, yes, definitely good investment. But if it's just to take photo, like doing Instagram, maybe you should think twice.
So Cindy's point, savings is an important foundation.
I'm still using the old version,
Yes.
not the latest one.
And it still works. Yeah.
Very low key.
So to Cindy's point, savings is an important foundation. But it's a foundation. It's just like how you build a building. You don't just build a foundation, you got to build the rest of it. So that foundation of savings, think of them like your seeds in a plant. But you keep the seeds in a storeroom, it's not going to do much for you, like keeping it in a bank with very low interest rate. You plant those seeds and it grows. It grows to help you grow your wealth as well. And I think that's a big takeaway, to complement both the savings with investment. Both need to come hand in hand. Without savings, you can't invest. Savings alone, you're not going to grow your wealth. It's just going to maintain your wealth at best, usually. And to Cindy's point on when to spend, when to invest, like everything, I believe, is a balance in life as well. While we can be very focused on the destination, okay, this is my 20, 30-year goal, we spend most of our life in that journey.
Yeah.
We spend 20, 30 years in the journey. So sometimes we may not reach our destination, or halfway through the journey, we realize that our destination is going to change. We want something else. So yes, I buy iPhones. All of us have our indulgences, and that's fine. Everything in moderation. We need to enjoy and love each day as well.
But you still have a goal.
While keeping a goal. Yeah. Balancing the short term and the long term.
Yeah, definitely. Your goal can change, but you still have you still need a goal.
Yes.
A goal can be like, maybe I retire earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe like I want a farmhouse somewhere, right? So you still have a goal, but along the way, yes, enjoy the moments.
I want to talk about that. Cindy, can you, as we come to near an end, can you share with the audience, how has your goals changed over time? Like maybe 10 years ago, you had a very specific goal and it changed.
Yeah, I think the goals, like there's a lot of goals in life. Like you have career goals, you have personal goals, you have financial goals, right? So it really depends on what stage which is important. Because when I first graduated, everything I think about is like career, working hard, get recognition, trying to learn as much as you can, and like doing everything as much as you can. Right now, I'm still still very career focused person. Still, yes, still. But I also learn to enjoy a lot more in life. So my goal is how can I be healthy, right? How can I can enjoy and expose to other culture. So of course, COVID, you cannot travel. So how can you balancing out? Like you read books or you talk to people and you learn from that. So actually, I think the goal is really shift, and also some of the time I spend not only on work right now, but also on my personal well-being, and on my family, on my friends, and my relationships as well. So and also, so one small thing I changed before, right? Um, I'm okay with any kind of food as soon as I can have that and I don't have allergy. So I can just sometimes I even count when I taking my lunch. I'm like, okay, I have 10 minutes to have lunch, and I put the timing there, and then like having lunch, which is like really on my early stage in my career. But now I also sometimes I still have like quick lunch, but I also want to enjoy like good quality food.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy like the moment when I like chewing the food, knowing that it's coming from the farm that the farmer invested in. So you're trying to spend more time on thinking of the value of the things that you received.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's really changing the habit and changing the goal in life as well.
I think what's profound and what I'm seeing from Cindy is when many of us start our careers or our life after graduation, probably 60-70% of our life is just focused on like career or finance, earning money. But then some of us also hear about the wheel of life, all the other aspects of life. And over time, we are able to balance things a bit more. Health, relationships, romance, mental well-being, our beliefs as well. Family, which is a big thing. The thing that stays with all of us is family. We will lose our money, we may lose our jobs, we don't lose our families. Our families will be there with us through thick and thin.
So so I'm now in Singapore, but the entire my family is in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And during COVID time, right, it's minimum travel and I cannot go back there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of you might also like experiencing the same thing, and trying to get maybe some minimal time with your moms, your dad, or your family, like just by spending 15 minutes or even like one text a day, to check in how they are doing, because I feel really really bad that I cannot spend time with them like in person during this time. So and sometimes we are just getting too busy with our own life, and one day you would realize that, oh my god, like how can it's the roots of your life, your family, right? And then you're spending a lot of more time in other things rather than like spending time with the people most meaningful in your life.
Agree.
So yeah, so I trying to, let's say, like putting some calendar in putting some time in your calendar to, let's say, just make a call, maybe like once a week, like trying to do a family gathering, or even a text is fine.
Agreed.
But just checking in. So yes, I share with you that's my difficulty, and that is also very 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 difficult for me to like trying to maintain my life here, and also outlook and keeping the relationship with my parents in Vietnam.
And I struggle with that as well, despite my family being here in Singapore. There'll be some weekday nights where at 8 p.m. I'm either in a work call or I'm editing a YouTube video. And I'm wondering to myself, should that time be better spent with my family, with my wife and my daughter, with my mom? And
We all have that struggle.
they're in the same house with me and I'm having that struggle. So it's something I'm growing through and learning as well.
Yeah, but see, I'm sure it's just the balancing. How can you try? There's no perfect lah. There's no perfection in that. You just have. Did I say la again?
Yes, you did. Yeah, Singapore, Singlish and verified.
Oh, just natural coming in. Yeah, but anyways, trying to balance that out. Don't forget to call your family or checking in.
Agree. If there's one takeaway from this interview, give a call to your family after this.
Now.
Yes, make it happen. Cindy, thank you for sharing your stories, your experiences, your perspective. I think we're all learning from you. I'm learning a lot as well.
Oh, I learned from you as well. And I hope to learn from other if they can just comment or sharing their experience. I'm sure during COVID time, we all have our own stories.
Agree. Everyone's in a different ship. It's been tough for some of us. It's been fruitful for some of us. It's been a mixed bag for many of us, both good and bad, in the past 2 years, especially COVID. With that, thank you for watching this episode. If you found this interview useful, click the like button. Hit subscribe to stay updated to more interviews like this. Take care.
Subscribe.